is going on, Macro Perspective peeps? We got another great episode today, but before we get into that, do me a favor. Please hit like, comment, subscribe, and especially share. Guys, to get anywhere in life, you got to share some knowledge, and hopefully today you'll be able to share this. Not only are you sharing to help a friend out, a loved one out, but you're sharing because you're also helping out us, the people that we bring on, the small businesses, the courses, the people that are on here to help support them, their family, and everything like that. So with that being said, I want to get right into who we have today. It's actually very special to me. It's a friend, basically way back when, 20 plus years probably here, going all the way back to my elementary school days. Our guest today is Brandon Matsuda. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me on. Yeah, so I've known Seamus since elementary school. We literally went to school all throughout college. It's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, so why I wanted to connect with Brandon today is actually just, it's more of a personal thing. This may not necessarily be for the audience, but it was really, I was just curious, really, what Brandon was doing. We got into it a little bit before here, but Brandon has a great following in social media, and he's basically covering, I would say, the voice of your childhood, basically covering things from TV shows on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and like all the stuff that I grew up with. And he's getting such virality. And I wanted to kind of go into that and just kind of ask him what he's doing. So yeah, with that being said, yeah, Brandon, like, what is it you're doing with your social media platform? How you got into that, and basically what's exciting you right now?
All right, we can start from the beginning, I guess. During COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs or things like that. I was fortunate enough to keep my job, but I did have a lot more free time, not going out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always loved gaming. So I started like streaming on Twitch. Didn't really see much success at first streaming on Twitch, and then a couple of my buddies that also stream on Twitch that were seeing a little more success than me, basically told me to start posting on this platform called TikTok. And I was like, "What's TikTok?" I looked into it. I would say about like 6 to 7 solid months of posting, not really getting anywhere. But then I started really analyzing and seeing like how people did well on that platform, and I kind of tried to replicate it myself. And I would say it took about 2 years on TikTok. So I actually have two different TikToks. I have a gaming TikTok, which I don't really use anymore, and then I have a movie TikTok, or like with the a voice of your childhood, things like that. For the gaming TikTok, I actually want to say I exploded on it last year. So I went from like, I would say like 80,000, 90,000 followers, and I started this new trend, or like hopped on this new trend where everyone loves alerts, or like seeing their, like when they follow you, it'll be like pop up something. And then it was right around the time Minions came out. So I had like a voice alert with like King Bob. So like every time someone followed me while I was live on TikTok, it would like shout out King Bob, and I was doing like a bunch of crazy challenges. But I went from like 80K to like 600K in like 2 months. It was like insane. The growth was insane. I took a lot of inspiration from Mr. Beast in particular for these challenges. Yeah, you guys probably don't know about this because I haven't been using that one as much. But I would do like challenges like, I have to get this many wins on like the game called Fall Guys. It was very popular. It's kind of still popular, not as much, but I have to get this many wins in Fall Guys, or I have to eat this like spicy pepper. My girlfriend's gonna like pie me, things like that. And yeah, so the streams were going pretty crazy, and actually got to the point where Mr. Beast actually follows me on TikTok. I had no idea. I found this out like a year later, to be honest with you. Someone made a video on TikTok with like Mr. Beast's followers, and I was there, and I was like, "What? I don't even follow him back," so I felt really bad. But yeah, he ended up following me, and I took a lot of inspiration from him, so that was cool. But um, from then, when you're on the platform a lot for TikTok, you're gonna watch videos. So I kept watching videos. I'm not sure if you guys are on TikTok, but like your For You page kind of reflects what content you like to watch. And I love movies. Ever since I was a kid, my dad would show me movies, so I've always been into movies. And I kept seeing a bunch of movie creators on my For You page, and I was like, I think I can do this too. So I
Yeah.
kind of like took the jump and then created another TikTok account, and then that's been doing well recently.
Dude, what a sorry. Side note here. Are you still kind of in like the West Hills, Woodland Hills area
Yeah,
in
I'm still in that
California?
area. Hmm.
Well, as a moviegoer, like, have you checked out the Topanga Dine-In, the new AMC
Oh,
there in
I'm
Topanga,
yeah,
Social?
I'm literally going there tomorrow to watch a movie. But yeah, I go there like probably 2 or 3 times a week to watch movies. To be honest.
It's the best spot. I love it. No, man. yeah, I'm a big movie buff, and like when you, oh man, it's Marco 60 to 600. He just 10x his numbers, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you said 2 months.
Yeah, I want to say like a rough. It might have been even quicker to be honest. Like I remember I had one stream where I would post a video and it was kind of like a video like, "Hey, I'm doing this. I'm live right now." And I had like 3 or 4 of those videos on the FYP like doing really well all at the same time. And I didn't even know how many people were in my stream. I just had like a bunch of text messages throughout the stream. And I
Mhm.
don't really like to look at the numbers because it'll kind of like defocus me or like go off on a stray. So I looked at the text after and they're like sending me screenshots. I had 15,000 concurrent viewers at one point. And I don't know, it's like an unreal number for me. But yeah, no, it was crazy. I think I got like 150, 160,000 followers in that stream and it was like a 3 hour stream.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What? I don't get it. Honestly, like, what are people so fascinated about watching other people play games?
I think in my case, people were waiting. Like people like challenges in general. Like if you look at Mr. Beast's channel, I like studied and analyzed his channel a lot, and a lot of his best videos are like challenges or things that are ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
or like people like verse each other. He's doing that a lot now. Like
yeah,
a
like the
hundred
one,
verse one. Yeah.
yeah, the 1 to 100 age versus people, and
Yeah,
then there's
yeah.
a
See
challenge
that
related
video
to
was
that.
amazing. So I
Yeah,
kind of took
Yeah.
a note from him, and I was like, let me put a challenge and a timer, and then I have to complete this challenge, or else I have to do something. So then I think people were just watching because they wanted to see me fail, basically,
what
and they
was your
wanted.
what was your
Um,
collateral? What were you gonna do if you fail?
so like one video I did like the one chip challenge, which is I regret, but I did the one chip. That was terrible. There was like another one where I got pied in the face. Another one where I had to put a shirt on every time I like fell off the map. So I had like 30 shirts on at one point. Yeah, so it was like a lot of different things that I started doing on there, like experimenting with.
Yeah.
Brought my girlfriend in for a couple challenges, so that was fun too.
Oh
That's
man.
that's
So,
that's a big
all right.
challenge.
Do people make money just purely streaming on Twitch if you have enough
Oh,
of an audience?
100%. Yeah, so one of my good buddies, he actually makes content on TikTok and streams on Twitch, but he hasn't been making as much content and just streaming solely on Twitch. So there's a lot of things you could do, like sponsorship streams. You have subscribers, which it's like 4.99 a month, but there's like different tiers, and you get a portion of that money. And then there's a lot of people that donate to you as well. There's a lot of different ways you can make money through streaming.
All right. Not, you don't have to disclose the actual amount, but like, what's the rough estimate of your best month with like a streaming platform?
I mean, personally, I have TikTok takes a lot of money away from you, but from like sponsorships and things like that, I've made like probably in a month like close to 5 figures. But I have a buddy that's like a full time content creator. See, the problem with me is I was in school the whole time,
Yeah.
so I could never go 100% into it until recently. But I have a friend that streams and does content on the side as well, and he's easily making 6 figures.
A
So you don't
month?
have to.
Not a month,
A
probably.
year?
Yeah, a year.
So
Damn.
you're saying that like you were using TikTok, Twitch, and all the sponsorship stuff to get you through school. That's what you did.
No, no. So I still took out loans. I was just doing it because I like making content, and
Yeah.
I wanted like it was just something to do on the side, and I always like trying to make money on the side as well. I was still
Yeah.
working part time as well, but
Yeah.
as far as like content creation, like the ceiling, there's easily creators that make over 6 figures in a month. Like you have Nick Merckx and other people; they have like 50,000 subscribers. So if like you just do the math in your head, like if you just cut it in half, 250 times 50,000, that's like just off subscribers.
But the virality is wild because I've seen people drop like, I've seen like videos of kids like, I mean, Mr. Beast will do it where he's like, here's $10,000, right? But
Hmm.
that's not like one drop in the bucket. Like that happens often, and I've seen it like where people come into a stream and it's like $10,000, and then another person's and they do this often, and it comes to a point where donations are like wildly like almost 6 figures from donations. It looks like.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I've done TikTok streams and I don't even like you're getting so many chats at one point that I was like, what? I got donated this amount of money, and I'm like, I wasn't even really doing anything special. So it's pretty crazy how much people like donate to you if they like enjoy your content or enjoy watching you.
No, I mean, it's just like, I guess it's like a different like engagement of entertainment. Like you kind of have like, I almost POV, right? Like it's your like point of view. I want you to do these things, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously we know how successful OnlyFans is, and so kind of just piggybacked off of the porn industry, which we talk about a lot of things in health kind of relate to that. Um, but like with that, I mean, do you ever? I know a lot of people that were or are full time content creators, and then they like experience a level of like burnout. Like,
Mm-hmm.
have you felt any type of way in this journey so far, or do you feel like you might get there if you did it full time?
So yeah, that's a great question. When I was doing nursing school full time. I was a part time like worker, and then I was doing content. And during the time when I went viral, like on gaming, I felt like a lot of like pressure to just keep going, right? Because I had such great growth that I didn't want to stop the growth. I was like, I can't stop streaming. I can't stop like creating content. And I definitely felt like a lot of burnout, like especially doing the challenges. I tried to come up with like new challenges that were going to be engaging as well as like fun for me, but not going to kill me, right? Like I didn't want to do something that I was going to feel like after effects for like months after or anything like that. Like nothing too crazy. So I did take a step back from streaming. Like in general, I don't stream anymore. But I did take a step back from the gaming account just because I did feel a lot of burnout, and I was like, I need to focus on school too, because that's when nursing school started getting kind of crazy towards the end.
So
Yeah.
it hangs in the balance now. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be a nurse? Are you gonna pursue the content side? Like, where's your head at?
So one great thing about nursing is, even though it is a very tough job, you only do work 3 days a week, and is 3 days, 12 hours, which is it's 3 days a week, but it's still like a lot. But I am still planning on doing content. Um, a lot of my friends now are like, since I've been doing well on Instagram because I just graduated in April, and then since I graduated, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go full force in content. Like I know what I can do with content because it's happened before. And Seamus recognized I was doing well on Instagram. My movie TikTok was doing well as well. And my friends were like, "Are you gonna not do nursing now?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna still do it, but if it got to the point where I was making the same amount of money as nursing, like that I can make, then I'd probably drop nursing or I'd go per diem. So per diem is like where you work like once or twice a month.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
don't think I'd drop it completely.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
you have
passion of
like
yours
a
that
guy.
you kind of
Hmm.
chase. It's like you put a lot of time into that, and like
Yeah.
even though there may not be there might be a financial cap as compared to an infinite cap on social media or whatever it is on social media you're gonna do, it's still probably like a fulfilling piece of work to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It was like, I mean, I've always wanted to do content. Like that was like my true passion, but I've always wanted to work in healthcare too. Like I first wanted to do physical therapy. That's why I did kinesiology. But then I went
Yeah.
to nursing because there's so many things you can do with nursing. Like you don't even technically have to work bedside. Like my friends are kind of exploring that now that are nurses. They're like, oh, you can go nursing for NASA. You can do nursing for like movie companies, which would be pretty cool because I love movies and the movie industry. So that might be a thing I might work towards in the like future too.
I mean, being in LA, and being a content creator, it's that connect should probably happen sooner than later. And
Hmm.
I noticed that like on your media too, like your media has pivoted from the gaming to like stuff on pop culture that is relevant. Like I saw like your Spider-Man post, like I think you were like at the opening night or something like that. Or you're doing all these kind of things. Is that where you're pivoting more so your content now, where it's like new movies coming out, voices of these characters, how these characters got here, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think definitely like I love gaming, but at the end of the day, like if the game's not good or if you're not enjoying gaming, like it's hard to make content on it. And I think I'm at that point right now where I've gamed for I'm 27 right now, so I've played video games since I was like 5, so I've gamed probably for like 20 years. And you kind of do experience burnout from gaming as well. So I think it'd be better if you can make content on things that you're just passionate about or that you enjoy. And I don't see myself getting tired of movies or pop culture in general or talking about like new movies that are coming out because there's constantly like different media that comes out
Mm.
from that industry. And you can always go back to the past, which I've done recently. And I feel like a lot of people love nostalgia. And that's why I mean I saw a vid like the voice of your childhood series that's going crazy right now on like all media for
Mm-hmm.
me. I saw one video of like a voice actor and I was like, whoa, I had no idea that they did all these voices. So I made like 2 or 3 videos just to make it to see how it did. And they did well on like everything. And that's what I've been doing recently.
Yeah, man.
So I have a few questions here.
Mhm.
Um, so the first one is like, like creation of an idea or a series, like where do you draw inspiration from?
I definitely draw inspiration from like a lot of other content creators. So I'll see what they do. Like I analyze um like TikTok platforms or Instagram platforms probably a lot differently than other people do. So most people would just look at the viral video like, "Oh, they did this viral video." But I'll go take it like a step further. I'll click on their profile, I'll kind of like watch all their videos and I'll see which videos did well, which videos didn't do well. And I'll be like, "Why didn't that video do well, but why did this video explode?" So I'll kind of take things from like a bunch of different people that I find inspiration from, like a couple people in general. Like I love like Straw Hat Goofy. I don't know if you guys watch him on TikTok, but he talks a lot of movies. He started on TikTok and now he's at movie premieres. And he's not just at the premieres; he's interviewing these like huge stars. Like he did, he was interviewing Tom Cruise like yesterday, and like talking with him just like normal friends. And he's in Paris. Like that's crazy to me. Like if I can get to that point, like oh my god. But like you're definitely Straw Hat. There's Cinema Joe, Soups. Like all these people, I try to take things from all of them and try to make it my own.
Got it.
Hmm.
That's again, it's a lens of like your analytical, like anecdotal lens of like where these people are being inspirational and like and how you might capture it relative to you and the audience of people that you know and how they gravitate. Like the one I think it was the voice of that childhood, like 5.7 million views on Instagram or whatever it is, and then practically what 600, almost 700,000 likes. Like obviously, like it's a lot of work too, though. Like I mean, the consistency of the posts, right? Like like this is a daily thing, right? Like you might spend a full day or two or three or four right now creating those different pieces, but then you have to like trickle them out appropriately too and analyze how that looks and stay up on the algorithms, right? That are ever changing. um I mean, how do you analyze that? Like, do you just kind of see like when the best time is, and you kind of experiment with that, or do you purely just kind of put it out there and you know that like maybe you have to post two or three a day because it's not like a what is it, a chronological order of like posts anymore?
Um, for me, I used to be like when I first started, I was like, "Oh, you have to post at this time exactly, or else the video won't do well." But like the more I've kind of posted and tried different things, if the video's good, your video should do well no matter what time you post.
Yeah.
Like the traction of the video might not be the best when you first post it. So like I've been posting around like 5, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But like yesterday I posted a little bit earlier and the video didn't do well, but I was like maybe the video didn't do well because maybe not as many people connected it, not as many people shared. But I've literally posted videos at like 12 or like 1 a.m. And of course like it gets no traction during the like nighttime. But like as soon as it hits like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., it starts like popping off. So I'm a firm believer that like the time you post is not huge, at least with TikTok and Instagram. With YouTube, it might be a little bit different. YouTube Shorts are different in general. I've had posts that have been up there for like 3 months with no traction, and then all of a sudden it gets like 2 million views in a day. So like I don't know how YouTube Shorts works, to be honest with you. It's very weird, like weird platform.
We can't figure it out either because it was like, oh, it was cooking with fire with a few of the like recipe videos, and then it was like now they're at 10. Like what the hell, and you're just like, all right, well, is it something we're doing? Because it's
Hmm.
in principle it's the same idea, but again, like you just said, like people's perception of it could be different. They could have changed something. It's always like it ironically, you mentioned liking games. It's kind of a game itself to like be like, oh, like you're trying to systematize something that probably has no systematic thing to it. But um it's crazy. I mean, the headache it causes along with the fun that it can be is definitely super interesting. And as we've created, the podcast along with like other little things, like little bites and pieces that we're trying to like, you know, grow a little bit, um, we truly believe it's like, hey, like if we create something that goes viral and then we like pivot to that then the mission doesn't get accomplished. So hopefully the message can stay, really dialed in because we've heard from many people virality for the wrong reason could then mean then you got to start creating those things and you probably might not like that particular, you may have not liked that post. So hopefully it aligns. My last question, and then I'll let Seamus kind of ask one. Are you playing Diablo 4?
No, I'm not playing Diablo 4. I have a lot of friends that play Diablo 4, but I haven't. Honestly, like the only game that I've really touched is NBA 2K23.
Okay.
And then the reason why I like NBA 2K23 is I have no pressure to make content. But now I'm kind of seeing it on my For You page and I'm seeing other creators. I'm like, I can do that, but I've like held back making any content because you need something for like leisure and for fun. And if you're making content and everything, then it like becomes like a whole nother thing. But I was gonna pivot to when you were saying, I don't think I answered one thing. Forgot. Oh my god. Oh yeah, about like posting amount. So that's another thing that I've talked about too, or like I've thought about was like so the voice of your childhood, like that series is doing really well right now. But of course, I just don't want to be known for that. And I also like sometimes like the first 5 seconds of a video for a short
Mhm.
like form is like so important. And I feel like me constantly using the voice of your childhood, like there's gonna be a point where people are just gonna like scroll away because they've seen so many of those videos. So I'm trying to think of different ways to use that. And also like I still want to post my other content that I like too. So it's kind of like a mix of like I'll post a video about like I posted a video about a new movie on Netflix called Nimona. And of course like that video didn't do well like when it was first up. It had like 5K. But I left it up and I was like I didn't really worry about it. I was like if it can do well and it's at like 20K right now, which is not bad. Um, but yeah, you definitely. I try not to look at the numbers as much as I used to. I used to like look at the views and the numbers, and if a video didn't do well, I'd want to remove it right away. But you kind of just can't look at it because how many people on social media are like looking through people's profiles and like, oh, that video only got 5K. They're not doing well. Like I don't think people do that. I think we just do it to ourselves.
No, yeah, that was gonna be my follow up. Like my follow up was like, granted, like maybe it might be a different situation if your livelihood like pivoted on this, right? Like if you're not a nurse, if you weren't doing anything else, if this was all you had, which quite frankly, some people this is probably all they had. I mean, we grew up with social media, right, Brandon? Like I mean, growing up in the San Fernando Valley and kind of like that popularity and people was just kind of like the day to day thing, and like social media probably spread that fire. How have you felt with social media, like being a content creator in there? How have you tried to balance your life? I know you're talking about burnout and things like that, but how do you balance that, like not looking at the number, doing what you want, but then also saying like, okay, how do I still appease the audience? Or hey, maybe I've outgrown this audience. Like how do you navigate your world personally in your own energies and then kind of like navigating the next set of content you want to create?
That's a good question. It's hard to think about. Like I guess for like as far as like using my phone, I do use my phone more than I should. Um, but like I try to put it. I when I'm like with friends or if I'm with my girlfriend and we're like going out, I'll put it down. Like yesterday, I went to San Diego Zoo, like the safari park, and I did need to post a video. So like for like 30 minutes, I was on my phone because I had to get all the content out. But after that, I really didn't check my phone throughout the day. So there's times where you just kind of like have to put it away and like not look at it. And even like reading the comments, like there's a lot of people that will throw a lot of hate your way or things like that. Like I made a video like 2 years ago, I want to say, and this was like the first time like I had a video with like so much hate, and I didn't know how to handle it at first. So I made a video. It was in regards to gaming. I saw a video where there was a creator talking about how like I play a lot of Call of Duty, or I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, and COD is toxic in general. And there was a creator defending COD toxicity, and I made a video kind of like rebuttaling it, like just because COD has been toxic for this long doesn't mean we need to keep it toxic. And I got a bunch of hate. It got like 600,000 views, but like I would say like five. No, I think it was over 10,000 comments, and I want to say like majority of those comments was just hate, and it was really bad for my mental health to like read those comments. And then even like family members or friends were really mad, but it got to the point where I was like, you know what, like um, these comments don't affect me. Like if I don't read them, they're not there. And I've kind of got that mentality now that like if there's like a negative comment, I read it and then it's like gone instantly. And that was really hard for me to, I guess, learn or like develop that. But like that's something as a content creator that 100% you're gonna get a lot of hate. Like no matter what you post, like even right now, like the voice of your childhood, like I get hate comments on some of them. I'm like, I don't understand this, but like you know what, like they probably have something wrong in their lives or there's something going on with them, and that doesn't affect me. But yeah.
Oh man, kudos to you to take on 600,000, 10,000 plus comments of just pure hate on such like thing. I mean, honestly, personally honest with you, like COVID hit, and I recognized a lot of dopamine addiction type of activities in my life, and I just had to cut them out. I stopped video games like 2 3 years ago. I stopped watching TV on like weekdays, and I just kind of enjoy like weekdays to be present. I try to get away from the phone. I'm not the best. Marcos and the rest of the macro perspective team knows that. Um, but dude, like it is toxic. Like it can be. And I remember growing up, like Halo 3 was, I would say, peak Xbox, peak E3 gaming, peak everything. And like that was my whole life. And like I feel like my whole identity was around like, all right, get to level 50 in Halo, no scope headshot on Valhalla, and you play with a team of four and you scrim it out and you win and like you have your friends and like and then you realize like nothing else there's a lot of games and all that and nothing else can capture that feeling anymore for me, so I was like I don't think I really want to waste my time with games anymore. Like nothing against games, it's just not where I feel like productivity for me is and I don't even need to be productive either. It's just I'd rather have my mental space to either be doing something or actually nothing. I'd rather just do nothing. And that's something that I'm trying to create space for in my personal life. And I think video games for me, because Brandon, you knew me personally. Like I was obsessive personality, like wrestled in high school, wrestled to college, and I had to be like on point. And to have something else take my obsessive compulsive type of behavior and put on video games, it's just it's not a good. It's not, it's not good for your mental health. So I can just tell that to people. So I took that out. But I'm glad that you're able to develop that and all that. But there's got to be a lot of positivity in in the gaming community. There's got to be a lot of positivity in the streaming industry and all that stuff. I mean, when you talk about it, like you had tons of followers. Like, how did you capitalize on that the community per se? Like, how did you kind of create that community in your own lifestyle? Did you guys have like it's like, hey, join me for the live. It's always on this time for the week. Or how did you prosper your community? How did you keep recurring people in? Because I think that's the real question, right? It's not about virality for 5.7 million once. It's like 5.7 million all the time and then some, right?
Hmm. Um, so that was kind of difficult because I noticed that too. And I think that's why I took a step away from the post that I made with all the virality because I noticed Marco said something earlier, like something goes viral and people were like, "Oh, you have to post that." And I went through that. I was like, "This post went viral, and I have to keep constantly posting this type of content because it's doing well." But it wasn't something that I necessarily enjoyed, and I had like a really quick burnout from that. And I noticed that like even though I had all those viral videos, like I'd have streams with like 15,000 people, then like 3,000 people. But if I didn't have like a post going up that was doing well, I wouldn't have all those same people. They were just there for the challenges, and that's why I kind of took it away, like a step away from streaming. And I might go back to streaming, but like right now, currently, I'm not playing really any games. But that's why I took a step back from that. I was like, they're not here for me; they're here for the challenge, and that was hard to like swallow and digest. But like that was the reason. Like I had more people. Like I was averaging, I want to say like 20 people when I before like this, and my average like viewership on Twitch went up to like 80 or 90. And so like out of like the 10,000 people that were coming in, like I added like 70 or 80 more people. And if I kept doing it, I could have possibly like done better, but I just didn't want to keep doing the challenges. And I was like, okay, yeah, these people are just here for the challenges. And that
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, that was hard. That was hard to swallow.
That
But yeah, something
yeah.
that I came to terms with.
Yeah. No, man,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
man. Like, I think it's a deep reflection exercise of like, do I want to be known as the challenge guy or do I want to be known as this? Like, and then it's like an identity thing because I mean, everybody's gonna slap a label on you at some point, right? And you're like, I don't really want to be known for that. And I think ultimately the crazier thing about like the new age way of really doing anything is like it kind of knows no bounds. So like if it's not something that you feel completely aligned with, very early on, I think it's like a testament to like I mean honestly probably to like the schooling or the other like ambitions that you have because I know a lot of people like take the scenario like what if Mr. Beast wasn't Mr. Beast, right? Like, what else would he be doing? Obviously, I feel like the guy is actually more of a philanthropist type of individual more than anything. And he gets a lot of hate on videos like that. But like, he's like, I'm still going to post these things. I can care less if, the comments are going to be negatively flooded because No one else is out here doing it. You know what I mean? And I actually like kind of admire that about like the perception there is like, yeah, guys, like I could continue to post these things and make more money than you'll ever know what to do with, like 200 grand a day just into the advertising revenue of YouTube itself, right? Like, you know, like that's insane, right? Like, I mean, in one in literally one day, he's making what most people would kill to make in an entire year, right? And he's like, no, like my mission is core group of people and making sure that people are understanding that like there's good work to be done, and I'm gonna search within. So, um, I mean, so would you just say that COVID kind of caused that catalyst though? Because you said it was like the turn of COVID caused you to embark on this journey, right? Would you have had enough free time if it weren't for COVID to actually ever get this started?
I mean, I used to stream like every once in a while, but it was never like a serious thing before COVID. It was kind of just like oh, I'm playing with games, might as well turn on a stream. But with COVID, I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I have more free time, so I think COVID was definitely the pivot. And I think without COVID, I probably would have never started making content. So like, I always thought I was gonna be a streamer. Like as a kid, like I was like, I'm gonna stream video games for a living. I want to be like this person or that person. Like Nate Shot. Nate Shot's like a huge inspiration of mine, and I'm not sure he's like a big COD guy, but he's definitely a philanthropist. He made his own organization. He has his like own energy drink, things like that. He's doing a bunch of stuff in the gaming world, which is amazing. Um, but definitely, like I think COVID helped me find my love for content creation. And the great thing about content creation is you don't have to just play a game, or you can make content on anything that you're passionate about at the time. And I think that's my ultimate goal is not just to be tied down to making content for like pop coach or making content for gaming. I want to just make content of anything that I'm enjoying at the moment. I think that would be like there's a lot of creators that do that. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't think off the top of my head, but it's Kirsten and her sister. They kind of are just followed for who they are and not the content they make. And I think that's like the ultimate like place to be at where like people just follow you for you.
Yeah, like getting to that experience though, and I think the other thing that people don't recognize too is like, I mean, so a reel, what, 60 to 90 seconds. The first five have to be like super engaging, super grabbing, right? You need your hook, but all the other edits that go in between, like you're doing all your own edits, I take it too, right? Like, so you basically now lump together like the understanding of, video editing software and how to splice things. And then, if you recorded the audio wrong, how to fix it. And like problems, like honestly, there's a ton of like new age problem solving that like I've run into with just like, I mean, again, not having my Rode microphone have it on mono versus stereo, like, and then I'm like, wow, damn it, it's coming out of one ear. Like, and then it's like, all right, I gotta like pull the audio, gotta split it, gotta do this, gotta do that. Like, and I was like, I would have never even like, I mean, I would challenge people just to go try to create something that they think, and then see how much time it actually takes. And then when you get good at it, it is like it's kind of a fun, useful skill for like the modern age. Cause like you effectively need to be your own like branding person in the beginning unless you have funds available to like pay out those people, right? But then again too, I think the unique thing about like being a creator or content creator type is that you you develop the skill set and this eye, and generally people that are selling a service don't have that ability to do it for themselves, right? Because hearing your own voice is maybe cringe to you, or looking at yourself as like a cringe moment. You're like, damn it, I didn't say that perfectly. But then when you go to the edit, you're actually like, oh, it actually wasn't as bad as I perceived it as I was creating. Like it does like a lot of deep reflection to like be able to be yourself being the creator and all parties involved. So I've grown a great appreciation for it. And like the people that like I analyze it too. I'm like, huh, like how did they get that, or how did they get so comfortable? Like how are they building that like skill set? I was really kind of into that in the last 6 months of like seeing whether it's a content creator or a podcast or whatever. And some of them have teams, some of them is all on their own. So it's like really cool to see. And different people with different messages, they don't have as much production, and yet they crush it. And it's like that video had that much, and then it's like I don't really know if I got a lot of value out of it, but like apparently 5 million other people did. So it's such an interesting game. But I do I do think that more people should challenge themselves to just try it, because they can't, your perception of it, like looking on the outside, looking in, versus like trying to be a part of it. You're like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, it's like, just even write a topic down. All right, cool. Um, and obviously for you, you're like, you kind of want to be niche-less, right? As much as you might have a niche, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is also harder to grow, because everybody would say the opposite. Like, you need to identify the niche and just hit it home. You're like, nah, like I lose my creative thinking. Not going to do it.
Yeah, I think for me personally, like if I were to like tell someone right now, like off the bat, like they're creating content, I would say start off with a niche. But I think you get to a point where like you get so big that you don't need that niche anymore, and I hope to reach that point. I like when one thing I was thinking about was like Kevin Lee or Keith Lee, sorry, Keith Lee.
Hmm.
He's the food guy,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are probably like, I can do that. It's so easy. Like he's just reviewing food. But like if you like actually watch his videos and like even like the first videos he made, he did a lot of small things that a lot of other food creators never did. He does like the zoom in on his face and like the way he describes the food, but his personality like flew through too. And they're like, I can make that video very easily, but it probably takes them a good amount of time to make all those edits and things like that. And they don't see the behind the scenes, but I think like Keith Lee, he still does food reviews, but he's showing his family, he's showing other things. So he's kind of went started with the niche of food and it's kind of moved beyond that. And then as
Yeah.
far as editing goes, yeah, there's so much time that goes into editing or even finding out like a video. So like before like I did the voice stuff, I would always like search through Reddit or just search the internet and so, like find cool things to talk about if I wasn't doing like a movie review or something like that. And then I have to find the clips and then kind of put them together. So for voice acting it's really hard because there's a lot of voices that the actors do, but they're not on media. And like I wish I can just call the voice actor and be like, hey, can you just shoot this clip for me? That'd be like so much easier. But of course, like that's not always available or they can't be available to talk. So I have to find like on YouTube or other like Facebook or other platforms of them voicing these characters. And that can take hours.
Ah, well, I know there's some websites that do make it a little easier, but like you just said, like if it's not on that one, what about copyright infringement? Like,
That's one thing that I am scared about. Like if there is like there's like certain videos that have like a lot of voice actors and I haven't had anything yet where they've hit me with copyright. I got like a YouTube copyright claim, but it wasn't like anything to affect my videos.
mm,
So, but that is a thing that like technically, if they want to, like, I use I can't think of the name, but there's like a certain YouTube channel that I've used a lot of their clips, and they could technically hit me with a copyright. And if that happens, I'd probably have to remove all the videos.
yeah, so
Um,
yeah,
oh,
like
go ahead.
who owns what in today's world? Like, this is like such a weird question, but like it got me thinking. It's like, if you're like technically you're dubbed over, or you're on the top of the screen, you've created this thing inside of this, phone based interface, right, as the screen. Like, does that make it unique? The fact that like you're there as now part of, like, as part of that, like, now, like, quote, original clip. um is there a certain amount of time that then indicates that you've actually like reached the threshold? Because I look at it like sound bites, like in most like political narratives, right? Most of those sound bites, it's like, well, technically that person probably owns that outright if it was like at a speech or a recording or something. And at like 5 to 7 seconds is when like the actual, like, then you can like really slap them with something. So I wonder if like the current culture of like these quick cuts and jump cut edits and all these things that are constantly changing the things also make it harder for tools that are analyzing it to be able to like register it. You know, it just, but it's also part of like the nuance that you mentioned that Keith Lee does, and a lot of people that get a lot of traction now is like the video itself has to be, it's not just us talking heads. It's like engaging. It's back and forth, in and out. Do this, different angle, put a filter, do this, like, um, and it's all for our, ADD with social media.
Yeah. So pivoting off that, I think nowadays I don't think copyright's gonna be as crazy anymore. Just because like you see a lot of TikTok creators and they literally just put their reaction to like a trailer. Like I tried that because my friend's like, you need to try this, you need to try this, and I was like, I don't really want to do that, but I tried it just to try it. But there's so many creators that will just literally have like a Marvel trailer up, and it's the Marvel trailer on bottom, and then it's just their face on top. And I don't see like Disney copywriting them because at the end of the day, I think it's just like free press for them and free like advertisement in that sense that like if a big content creator's saying, "Oh, this movie looks so good," there's more people that might go see that movie. Whereas like for me personally, like what I want to do with my thing is I don't think a lot of like, and I've noticed this recently, I don't think a lot of voice actors get a lot of credit for what they do. And a lot of things they do is crazy. They honestly, like, I've learned a lot. So like voice actors, they will do multiple like voices for movies or shows, and they only get paid for three of them. Like, so like if they do three voices, they're only getting paid for one voice. And I personally don't think that's fair, because if they're doing this much work, but like, yeah, I want to give more recognition to the voice actors, and I think I've done a pretty good job of that, at least getting them recognized. Like, hey, they're doing all these voices behind the scenes, and they're literally the voice of your childhood. Like all
Yeah.
these favorite shows that you loved watching, they did them. So like, I just want to give them more recognition at the end of the day.
No,
Yes.
that's amazing. I don't. Yeah, they don't probably get a lot of recognition. I mean, being in LA, like I've gotten to meet a few and stuff like that. Like for example, like the Teen Titans, Vic Stone, Cyborg, that guy. Like, uh, and I think he's in The Walking Dead too, as a real like
Yeah, yeah, he
person. Yeah.
plays the Walking Dead.
But like I remember watching like a show. I'm like, yeah, that's him. But then I was watching the rest of the show, and there's like three other voices that was him, and I was like, but he doesn't get credit on that. Like he doesn't get any credit on that, which is like I was like trying to like look it up on IMDb or whatever. I was like, I know that was him. How come they're not? So that sucks. That like they do all this work, but they're not being paid, or maybe it's in like part of their contract somehow. But like maybe for like the base generic voice actor that's like up and coming, like he's probably gonna have to go through the trenches. You know, like hey, you did 20 voices this time, you only get paid for one. That's you got to take your licks. You know, you got to take your licks.
Yeah, and even like so like when I was doing like, everyone knows Predator. I feel like Predator is like, everyone's watched that movie or heard of that movie. And Peter Cullen, who's the voice of like Optimus Prime, was actually the Predator. Like he did the Predator voices. But like if you look for the credits of that, there's nothing there. The only reason I know that is because in an interview he said I was the voice of the Predator. But like if you look at IMDb, it doesn't say Peter Cullen
Did
voiced
he
the
even
Predator.
talk really though in the Predator? Not if
No,
you're
but
watch.
he did all the voice, like the I
Oh,
can't do the
all
voices, but like he did some
yeah,
crazy voices, yeah.
got
Like
it.
the
So he was doing.
snarls
Oh,
and yeah.
gotcha. What you're saying? Like he was the um, what are those people that are like the sound guys that like add the elements of like you know this in
Mhm.
those sounds to the at the end of a like an animation or whatever. Um, fuck. That would be a
I'm not,
cool job too. Like those videos always get me personally. I was
on
like,
TikTok I watch those
yeah,
too,
yeah,
yeah.
those ones get me. But like whatever that person's called, um, yeah, I mean, again, really different, unique thing of like, oh yeah, I'm going to create what sounds like walking through sand or a crunch or this, like relative to like, the visual, then to create the audio. I'm like, that's crazy. And
Like
like you just
breaking a
said,
bone.
I
It's like celery, like cracking celery.
yeah, like the bone break or a punch or whatever it is. But the other one too is the like you're just saying, like in Predator, I would have probably just assumed it was like what they did for like Godzilla, where it's like just like a chicken or something, or like
Mhm.
something else gargling or one of those people, and why they wouldn't get credit. But you to tell me it's a voice actor actually doing the gargling stuff, like, all right, now I need to go watch and think of it from that new
Yeah, it's
lens,
crazy.
which is pretty cool. Be like, oh yeah, there was a person behind it at the time. That job probably didn't exist yet because I mean, how many animated movies were there really?
Oh no, it wasn't even oh, you're talking about for voice acting?
Yeah, like before, because that was like an '80s movie, right? Predator was like early '80s.
I don't know the exact date, but yeah, I mean there was like animated films, like Disney had some like in black and white and things like that. Like Wait, is it Sleeping Beauty? Yeah, like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, like those are like classics that are from
Yeah,
like the 20s and 30s. But
but there weren't. It was moving picture, but it wasn't necessarily like as much of the little nuanced sound effects that are going on like in the
oh,
background.
okay, I get what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
there's actually like a lot of different like roles to be filled now, and you're right. A lot of people don't get any credit. Like you look at the ending credits that are rolling, and you're just like, God, there was this many people on this project, and then you really think about it, just like that one team of people may have done like one one scene. I think that like that the biggest one was like the team on like the first Transformers. There was like a bunch of like individual components that were, and you can actually tell like if you look at the CGI, they looked like they were done differently because there was different teams that did it. And like when you first watch it, you were just blown away because it was like, oh my God, they're fighting. But then you watch it as you get older, it starts to look kind of gimmicky, and then you're like, holy crap, like that version didn't look the same as this one at like the end fight scene. Little stuff that I picked up on, and Maybe it's because the TV's now 4K versus 1080p or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a whole different. That's a whole like the whole VFX artist thing right now is kind of like crazy. I hear, but no, Brandon, tell us more about like the voice actors. Like, what other things are they not getting credit for other than like hey voicing a bunch of stuff? Like, what other examples you got
Well,
like that? Like, it's wild.
you can even go into actors right now because right now, like at this moment, they're going on strike at the actors. I don't know. It's been all over my like feed, but there's a lot of problems with AI right now that are people are like using their likeness and they can't agree on something like where a studio can just go back to all the movies that that actor was in and use their voice and use their face for like future projects without ever like crediting them,
Kind of sounds like
and
the
then they
Black
won't
Mirror
get paid
episode
for
that
that.
came out.
Yeah, it's exactly like the Black Mirror episode. So like we have the Writers Guild that's going on strike because they're worried about AI writing things instead of them writing it. And then you have the actors, people using their likeness and they can't agree on a contract. So that's kind of scary in general, right? Like if someone's using your voice and you don't get any residuals or any money from that. But as well, I'm sorry, Seamus, what was the question again? Because I pivoted like way off. But I
I mean, I kind of like this now. Actually, I kind of like this.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that one. It just seems that like voice actors never got as much credit is all we need to
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, tell us about this because I know the writers' strike has been going on. I work in Beverly Hills, so I'll swing by like ABC Studios or other studios, and I'm like, okay, I see these guys, people honking. I didn't know about the actors going on strike. I didn't know about like
Yeah.
other people going on strike. Like, what is going on in that sense? I know AI is here. It's been here for about 8 months
Mm-hmm.
now. It's changed a lot, but I didn't know it went this deep. What is that?
So from my like limited knowledge of it is a lot of the actors, like I said, are scared that or they're the studios and the actors can't come with like a contract or like a written thing that says like if you use my likeness, I get paid this amount of money. Like they want to do it where like but they pay them once, but they can use it for years. And then there's also like contract disputes that I know are going on. Like for instance, well, in general, like the premiere for Oppenheimer, which is a huge movie, they had the Paris premiere yesterday. I think the UK premiere was today. And as soon as the strike went through, all of the actors from the premiere left. So they were not a part of the premiere because they moved up the premiere an hour for this so that they could walk the red carpet. But it's gonna be crazy because like all of the advertising, like for movies, like when the movie comes out, you have all the actors are saying, "Hey, come watch this movie." Like Tom Cruise is one of the biggest of this. Like he'll say, "Yada yada." They can't do any advertising for movies right now. Like all the actors that are part of their guild or their group, huh? So that's gonna
Oh,
change a lot of things in the future. And then I know, like, I'm a big Marvel guy, and Deadpool 3, there was a bunch of things that showed about like Hugh Jackman and oh my god, I can't think.
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot his name, but like they were filming it and they showed it. That production has to stop because both of those actors are in the same guild, so they're on strike now too. So Deadpool 3 filming is going to be released. So the next couple years for movies, we're not going to get a lot of movies because they're all going to be delayed.
Great.
Man,
Makes
I really wanted
not like I
Secret
ever get to
Wars.
go to the
Yeah, and then that makes it rough for me as a content creator too because I was just thinking this. I was like, what if the actors themselves or the writers themselves are like, hey, we want you to boycott watching movies. We want you to boycott going to the theater. I don't know if they're going to do this, but like if they were to say that, right? Do I stop making content in support of them? Because at the end of the day, like I want to support the actors and then the writers as opposed to like the huge companies. Because at the end of the day, like what they're fighting for is like fair wages and things of that nature. So as a content creator, like if I'm making content but they don't want me to talk about this, it puts me in a rough position, right?
I mean, my next question is how many millions are we talking here for these people that are at these like, A-list level? I feel worse for like probably B and C list people
I
that
think
are
it's more for the B C list,
okay.
for that in general. I think for the wages, but like for AI, like if somewhere, even if you're like a big actor, if you're Tom Cruise and you're making millions of dollars, I don't think that the company like Century Fox or something has the right to make movies without your consent or you allowing that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all the same age here. I mean, how many movies have you watched legitimately or illegitimately in your lifetime? Has it always been that you've paid to view it every time?
And I was thinking
No,
You know
about
what I'm
no,
this.
saying? Like,
I was thinking about this
I
when
that's
mean,
true
Mario was
too.
talking about the copywriting stuff. Remember that like 1999 2000, like it was kind of like the Dare campaign, but it was like the pirating campaign, and it just starts like it starts with the movie scene, and it's like spy movie thriller, dun dun, and then it's like a guy on the computer, pirating is bad, and then it's like a guy walking to a car, and it's like him holding DVDs. Remember that like pirating commercial? That's what I
Hmm.
was thinking. I was like, that's
Oh yeah,
kind of wild.
we had LimeWire, we had like all the
Bear
torrents and
share.
stuff.
We
Yeah.
had all the torrent clients, P2P or whatever it is, and bit rates, and then you're like, you know, I, I, I think you pay for the experience. Like, I think the experience of going to the movies and having it like on that big screen, having the sound tuned in to, like, and fighting over the middle seat, like in the right row. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's more about the experience. I would much rather pay for the experience, and I mean, I get it. Like, everybody is a business and needs to make money at the end of the day. So I think what you said earlier about, like, yeah, they're not going to hit me with a copyright thing because I'm actually just helping promote this thing. And if this view gets 5 million, right, or if that's 5 million people to now see somebody that they resonate with, and now they're excited about the film, and they're not going to want to take that down. And I'm sure like nowadays they probably have like a certain percentage they know is going to get like somewhere on the web, illegally, and people are going to stream it. And they're going to take, like, oh, well, we had to pay the actor this much and we're just trying to recoup costs. And it's like, it's a very, very interesting world to live in when it comes to like the availability of something. The same day release thing that happened is now kind of like, I think they were like, dang it, now that we've done it, everybody knows, can't wait 3 months to then put it to, Blu-ray, DVD, or digital download or whatever. Um, but for somebody that does have like young kids, for example, like I like that benefit because I can pause the movie with my kids and I can get the full experience, and I'll rent it. Make the rentals cheaper, guys. Like, make it like $1. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting the full fledged feeling here, and let me just like watch it through once and for $1 versus it being 20. Like, I think there's a lot of ways to get creative with like the ingenuity, and I'm sure it's probably like, again, like for a Disney related film or whatever studio that then delivers it, if you subscribe to their platform, you have instant access for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a bunch of other ways to kind of like continue to get creative with like appropriating funds, and then also then again having those other people get paid out. But I wonder, it's like you just mentioned the AI. I bet you the AI hit is why they're not going to want to pay, because then like availability becomes easier and easier because most people are relatively savvy with technology because you have to be these days.
Yeah, yeah, and then also the thing too, like the app wars. Like I think they're gonna dub this like last 4 years like the app wars, like Netflix, Max, HBO to Max, right? Disney,
Mhm.
Prime. Everyone has everyone has something. Everyone has something. My money is on Prime and Disney, probably. Um, just the fact that they're gobbling up everyone. What like Disney owns ESPN and Hulu now, and they're just gonna do what? Like they're gonna do like a didn't they? I don't know if you know this one, Brandon, but like a few months ago, they were talking about just pulling it under one umbrella, right? Um,
Yeah, I think they're
and
taking out Hulu.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're just gonna call it like Disney, like obviously like Disney Plus or whatever. But it's you kind of get as a consumer kind of bombarded with like a bunch of BS of like, well, I like this show, so I have to pay $10 for this. I like this show, but I'm gonna pay $20 for that. And then next thing you know, just to watch your shows, it's like $150 a month. And then on top of that, to throw a fee. Like for example, I remember Disney with the Scarlett Johansson thing, like, hey, same day movie theater thing, or it wasn't same day movie. I don't really remember, but you have to pay $30 to go watch like Black Widow, and I was like, what? I already paid for like the Disney Plus. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like double the ticket. So it's like, I think the consumer has something to say about this too. Like with all this content stuff that's being like, yeah, I don't know. This is a really weird age right now.
I mean, like streaming started and it was like, oh, we can get away from paying cable bills of like over $100. But like at the end of the day now, like if you get every streaming platform, it's gonna come close to that or even more now, which is crazy.
Oh yeah. It's no longer like the broadcasting company, that's delivering it to every house, and now you have the quote choice to pick and choose the packages that best suit you. Like, the only reason why I have HBO Max or whatever the hell it is now, because they keep changing it after all these years, year by year. They're just dropping, letters. Um, the It's because I have the cell phone provider basically pays for it or is partnered with it,
Mm.
And I remember, y'all remember that? Does that make you feel like kind of old? Where like, oh, if I have Verizon, I can get access to this thing, and now it's like each company still has the same thing, but it's like you get this streaming bundle in cahoots with it. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, it's I don't know. I think that's probably why there's a lot now. Now it actually makes more sense to like my earlier question to you, Brandon, about like I don't know what possessed people to want to watch you play a video game, but it's like, the game is technically unique every time. It has different interactions. Your challenge can be different every time, so they're expecting a potential different outcome. And it's basically like quote reality TV in a sense because there's a human element. It's almost like a sport. Like the outcome is not predetermined. Whereas like if you watch a movie, it is like there's a beginning, middle, climax, end, right? Like it's the recipe of as old as time. So they're like, oh, is Brandon gonna have to take the pie to face this time, or is he gamed up? Is he leveled up to be able to handle
Mhm.
this? Dungeon or quest or whatever it is. So now I actually kind of think I see the draw because it's more like sports. It's more like hell. I'm sure you could even find a way to like, like do like a betting line like on a Twitch channel somehow.
There's already things like that actually. I can go. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna pivot one more, and then I'll go back to that.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about streaming, I just realized there's another whole aspect that we're not even thinking about. Whereas like a lot of actors get residual checks, right? Like before, when you
Mhm.
buy a movie, they get a residual check, or when you watch a show on cable, they get a residual check. Um, for streaming, it's completely different. Like, there was a post I follow, like discussing films and like a bunch of other film things on Twitter, where the person that wrote one of the episodes for She-Hulk, like the most popular episode, only got paid this X amount, and it was like way less than they should have gotten. So I think that's another whole aspect of why they're going on strike, right? The writers are going on strike and the actors because they don't think they're getting paid enough for what is going on streaming as well. So that's like a whole different aspect.
Well, they got to do what the artists did because now they're getting fractional cents per play,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then like show us the analytics, and then there has to be transparency. But if there's not an easy viewership that like TikTok or Instagram like does on their platforms, then there is no security for those people because they'd be like, all right, cool. Like this particular episode that I'm a part of got 5 million views, all right, and like my fractional share of that ownership of that episode, is this like you could be able to do the math, but like yeah, like I'm sure that there's probably an angle to do it kind of similar to what Spotify did in a sense because yeah, it is nice to get a little bit. They're not going to make a living off of that. They're going to have to go do other
Mm-hmm.
projects, but like it is. I get it. When you do maybe when that was a way of thinking before, and maybe a draw to like why you would be a part of a particular movie. Now you're like, well, there's no incentive outside of like just the payday, so you have to just think of it that way. So I didn't
Yeah.
even think of it that way for sure.
And you also got to think
Yeah, I know.
about it too. You
I
can go,
just
Brandon.
remembered it because like I saw the tweet. But yeah, and then we can also pivot on the so for gambling on Twitch, there's this thing where you get points every time you're like on stream watching,
Hmm.
and you could redeem the points for like things like my friend has his, or like, or I used to have mine, where like my biggest one was like I'd buy you a pizza, so I'd send them like a gift card or something, or like a cash app of how much their pizza would cost. I wouldn't get their address or anything. That's too much. But you can do it where like you pour water on your head or things like that, and these people can gamble points. So you can put like Brandon will get this amount of kills in this game, yes or no, like high or low, and then people will gamble their points, and it's like a crazy thing. Yeah, so Twitch
Oh,
has that actually, and that's what gets people to watch even more.
My
yeah.
question on that, though, because I know this has happened like when I was gaming, I was playing like Destiny 2 like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
back then. But there was were you part of the whole like trying to figure out what app you were gonna do? Because I know Twitch was there, but then people moved off to YouTube gaming, and then people moved off to Facebook gaming. How did that like affect a lot of
There's
this
even
kind of
more
stuff?
now.
Oh shit!
Yeah, isn't
so
there what's Twitch's main competitor now? Is it
I would still say Twitch's main competitor is YouTube at the end of the day.
okay?
But there's other platforms. So one thing that's going on in the Twitch community that's really big, it's kind of similar. They want more money for what they're getting. So for right now on Twitch, they only get 50%
Mm,
of all subs. So like if they have X amount of subs, they're only getting 50% of that. Whereas a new platform came out called Kick,
yeah.
and they give the streamers 95%,
Oh shit!
and
That's a
then they
lot.
only
Nin-
keep. They
Didn't
only keep
Ninja move to
5%.
Kick?
So Ninja actually streams on like every platform now. So
Okay.
Ninja did a different thing where he unpartnered himself from Twitch, unpartnered himself from everything. So you can't subscribe to him, but now he can stream on every platform, so he can get more reach. So it's
Mm,
kind of like he doesn't need the money for streaming anymore.
yeah.
Like he'd rather just have more reach.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Kick's like 95, and there's like another one. I don't know the specifics on this one, but it's like Rumble, and like um, there was like a couple other streamers I can't think off the top of my head. Rice Gum's one that just like went to Rumble. So there's like a bunch of different platforms. So like in the same sense that there's like streamer wars for movies, there's kind of like streamer wars for content creators right now too.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's like
I
a
don't
whole.
know, man. It's a
It's a
whole
whole
war.
other, whole different world. But it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool to give people a perspective of like, shoot. I mean, my son can game on an iPad like no one's business. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I wonder if I could capitalize on like making a channel and a platform.
Start recording it. Like just put like a recording software on there. Next thing you know, it's like million views per 20 minutes that your son does.
I mean, like, I mean, yeah, there you go. You pimping out your. I mean, is it no different
Pimping
than
out
pimping
your
out your
kid,
kids as
bro.
baby ads back in the day? But like, I'm like, hey, if he has a skill at that thing and it's just like part of like culture, like, I mean, I heard that like gaming, like, you basically can go to school for gaming in Korea. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a whole different like culture there relative to like the United States. But like, oh, and you need to get your knowledge and your tutelage and your education and blah blah blah. Here, it's like no, people still need the entertainment value, and just like where you're getting it, amongst different generations is different because we're all brought up differently. Um, how like I mean, granted, whenever there's a paywall for me, I'm like, I don't really need it that bad personally, but I can see for other people, they're like, no, I want to like need to fit in with like my homies and my crowd and all that stuff, and I want to see what's going on, and like you just said, like if Brandon is kicking it big again on Twitch and kids are subscribed and they're just like, all right, we need to see what he's like, like they want to be there
Dude,
to like live it.
dude, there was an app. There was an app for fitting in. I think someone said this on Instagram like a year ago. It's like, yeah, they made like an app that made your thing like a blue check mark, or like not blue check mark, like your text on your Android blue. And someone said like, I don't know if it was real or if it was like a hypothetical. He's like, yeah, it's $1 million business, easy. Like people will pay like the $15 to be like to have an app software that whenever you message someone, um, you'll be blue instead of green on Android, and it's like that's how much people want to fit in.
I
That
was. Oh,
that's
go ahead.
that's funny because that the iPhone, Samsung, or Android like communities, like yeah,
That's another war.
that's another war. But it's funny because it happened with a group text here that we did for like a birthday event, and there was someone that had an Android. They're like, "Fuck! Like who here doesn't have an iPhone?"
Kick him out. Kick him out.
Well, you can't. Like, it's like you can't leave the message. You can't leave the group. And so everybody was just like, "Oh my god, I can't even leave this." Like, they were stuck in that chain, and it was my wife's fault. And she's like, "I don't fucking know." I was like, "You used to be one of those until you got an iPhone."
That's hilarious,
Yeah,
dude.
nice.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah. Sorry, just an aside.
No, it's funny. Yeah, but one thing I was gonna say was, Twitch is not just for gaming or Rumble or like Kick. So I know that there's like a lot of other things that people stream on there. Like one creator that I watch, Nick Merckx, he's actually like really into like fitness, and he I don't know if he still does it, but he used to have like a stream where he literally just worked out on stream. I think Cypher PK does this, where he does a lot of like workout streams. So I think there's a lot of different things that people can watch on that platform other than gaming or things like that. And then they'll like encourage a lot of people to start working out, which is pretty cool to see on my timeline. Like, oh, I started watching like this person and I've lost this amount of pounds because they encouraged me to work out. So that's
Yeah,
like another cool thing from those platforms that like you can do that you might not like expect, or like there's a lot of people that sing.
yeah,
Like I go on the music section on Twitch all the time. There's like a lot. That's what I used to do. I used to raid people, and usually you raid people like in your own niche. Like if you're a COD streamer, you raid COD streamers. I used to raid just music streamers because I thought those are like undiscovered people that are like really talented, but they have like 5 viewers. So there's like a lot of things that people can stream, or like I don't know.
that's the
It
cool
was cool
thing
to see.
about the internet now is the power of like um being able to be popular and being able to capitalize. I remember like for example like the This is like in the last 3 months. The Home Depot girl, right? Do you know that one? So
I don't. I'm trying to initiate. Was she a cashier or like? Is
she's
it
like
like
a
similar
Home
to the
Depot
Target one?
worker. Yeah, she's like a Home Depot worker. But people were like saying she was so pretty and stuff like that. But it was kind of like borderline like bullying on the internet that she like lost
Hmm.
her job. But because of the fact that she like
Oh.
lost her job, she was able to pivot her social media to like have so many followers and that like allowed her to go do something else. Obviously, that's like not the best story, but like that's like the beautiful thing I think about like the internet is like anyone can be discovered now, and anyone can be somebody, and self-produce. Which is, I mean that's how Justin Bieber came along. It's like YouTube videos.
Yeah, yeah, on the internet.
Yeah.
I think that was another thing that is rough for content creators, like similar in MySpace. Like, there's a lot of content creators that want to be actors or want to like write in movies, and now with the strikes, these big companies might start like, "Hey, I see your social media, and I want you to become like an actor." But at the same time, like, do you want to like say yes to that, because then you might be like boycotted by all the other actors. So it's kind of like a rough time. Like, I have friends that are voice actors, and I think they're going through this right now, or they're thinking like, oh, what do I do if Disney approaches me to voice in this movie? Like, do I say no or do I do it?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that's
that
what Mr.
sucks.
Beast is like. That's what Mr. Beast is like. I think Mr. Beast is probably ahead of this, right? Where he goes like, "Oh, you want to do a 30-second video," and he like challenged the Super Bowl, right? Like he gets 450 million views, they get like 130. He's like, you don't have to pay that much and you get the biggest audience, what do you want to do? And like I was like, that's I feel like if, dude, Mr. Beast, I know his mission is to make as much videos, but if he put his finger on this, like to help the entertainment industry in a sense of like helping the people, dude, how much people would back that up, right? How much people would back that up?
I know because Mr. Beast is on like podcasts sometimes, and I'll watch like his podcast or his videos, and he'll say like, or even tweets, like he'll be like, "There's tons of channels that I've helped behind the scenes where they had like 10,000 subscribers, and I was like, I worked with them for a month or two, and they're at 2 million." And he's like, honestly, content creation is not luck. It's not. It's a science, and he has it down to a science. Like, to be that well, like diverse in content and know what to do with it just to make anybody's channel ultimately like go viral is insane. I like that's talent in itself.
5 minutes with him is like 5 million views right there. 5 minutes with Mr.
Hmm.
Beast, like, Marcos, we're kind of coming up on hour 10. I want to be mindful of brand stuff. I feel like we're just kind of getting into it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just.
But I'll let you kind of ask the last few questions here.
I mean, brought some insight to like. I mean, something that I'm, I guess, blissfully ignorant to. Didn't know that like this was, like kind of a tumultuous time with regards to, you know, Hollywood in a sense, right? Maybe it does create a level of reform in a very positive way for a lot of people. Maybe it helps the bottom line of the end product and the results that you're seeing and the movies you get to go kind of critique and that you know and love become better because you know it's no longer like the big corporations kind of controlling that. Um, but no, I appreciate having like a different perspective to something and understanding of like livelihoods of these individuals that again like they might be celebrity esque or an actual celebrity, but hard times falls on all people. But I think you're totally right. Like the implications can be very, very weird. Because like you said, that person that is maybe now getting approached, they're like, this could be the break, right? And I could have a career, but then no one's gonna want to work with me, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I that's wild. I know that a lot of people have talked about different things on different podcasts I've listened to about, you know, just, things similar, but like not to this extent. So, I mean, it's kind of cool to see that someone like yourself that's obviously content creator into something like you're doing deeper dives into other areas that again are kind of near and dear to your heart. And, it definitely like super, this is just a genuinely awesome conversation of something like, again, being a little bit vulnerable about like, how you were processing things and talking about how it affected your psyche and those things. And I think a lot of people think that it's all sunshines and rainbows, just being in a position where you're just creating something at all times. But at the same time too, it's like then you have to be creative all the time. Right? That's a hard ask, right? You know, appeasing the muse is a tough thing to do, especially if you're, again, not really feeling it anymore. Just you don't want to be known as that guy that's doing that thing. The point in case I think of as like the guy who's like the random DJ guy who puts like random things before the drops and he's on like number 100. You know, it's like now it's getting played out, like you just said. Like if I just do this one thing, like all right, cool. It was cool for a little bit of time, but like now I know what to expect, and it's like, I don't want to follow that guy. If I want to go listen to random shit for 5 seconds, I'll go do it. Um, so man, Brandon, it was awesome and a pleasure, and appreciate it. And hopefully, you find your lane amongst nursing and the platforms that you're on, and the streaming, and again, just kind of getting like those creative juices flowing, because I think a lot of people probably will benefit from hearing that like there's so many ways to approach life. And you know yeah,
I'm gonna
so
call it now.
Jameis.
I'm gonna call it now. I'm gonna call it now. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 2. Brandon will be on the Paris opening night talking to Tom. Talking to
That would
Tom.
be amazing.
And then the next Amazing Spider-Man, or the Spider-Man, the Beyond the Spider-Verse, he's gonna be on that one. He's gonna be on there. I'm calling it now, guys. Watch, rewind this one, clip this, because in 12 to 18 months, I see Brandon on that big stage.
No, yeah, that would be so cool. But yeah, things that you can't even imagine could happen. And then I guess like the last thing I would say is like with content creation, if you're not feeling something, like you're not stuck in that niche. You can always pivot to something else. Like even if you're starting from the beginning, like it's better to do what you're passionate about, because that'll avoid burnout at the end of the day. Because I've been making content on movies for a while and I haven't experienced any burnout on it. It's because like it's something you're truly passionate about. You won't experience burnout.
Man, well said. Well, again, guys, thanks for listening to this very different episode of the macro perspective. Again, our goal, while we are self-development focused and health focused, we like to dive in conversations with people living a different life and approaching, I mean, in this case, it's really mental health. And Brandon kind of talked about experience of dealing with negative comments, and how to not make sure that like gets embedded in you, and how to maybe use strategies of like kind of post and ghost and not pay much mind to it. And also just understand that people can be haters and the criticism will be there. But I think that last thing you just said about like just stick to the thing you're passionate about, because it doesn't feel like you're working a day in your life kind of thing, kind of really rings true. So we would appreciate a share, a like, a follow, or whatever. You guys got some value from this, got you thinking differently. And until next time, macro perspective out.